Hey guys, happy Monday. Remember we talked about how we're going to do scythe reading Monday, Wednesday, Friday because we want to get it done before the end of the year. And so today I'm going to read a couple chapters because they're super short. They're like a page and a half. So we remember she just showed up to where she thought she was confronting the killer of Scythe Faraday and shot that person in the knee and then went up to them and realized it was Scythe Faraday who had been pretending under his previous name before he became a scythe and was hiding out. And so she just shot Scythe Faraday. So that's where we're at. Chapter 33. Both the messenger and the message. Citra carried him inside. She sat him on the sofa and made a tourniquet to staunch the blood. He groaned, beginning to rouse, and when he woke the tenuous surface of consciousness, his first thought was of her. "You should not be here," he said, his words weak and slurred, an effect of the pain nanites flooding his system. Still he grimaced in bleary agony. "We have to get you to a hospital," she told him. "This is too much for your nanites to handle." "Nonsense. They've already taken the edge off the pain. For the healing, they'll do the job without intervention." "But I have no other option," he told her. "Going to a hospital will alert the Scythedom that I'm still alive." He shifted position, grimacing only slightly. "Between nature and nanites, my knee will heal. It will take time, of which I have no shortage." She elevated his leg, bandaged it, and then sat on the floor beside him. Were you so resentful of leaving that you had to exact your revenge in flesh?" he asked, only half joking. "Are you so offended that I managed a method of secretly retiring instead of actually gleaning myself?" "I thought you were someone else," she told him. "Someone named Gerald von Vondergans." "My birth name," he told her, "a name I surrendered when I became Honorable Scythe Michael Faraday. But none of this explains your presence here. I freed you, Citra, and Rowan both. By faking my own gleaning, you're both freed from your apprenticeship. You should be back in your old life, forgetting I ever plucked you from it. So why are you here?" "You mean you don't know?" He pulled himself up slightly so he could see her more directly. "Don't know what?" And so she told him everything, how instead of being freed, she and Rowan ended up at Scythe Curry's and Goddard's, how Xenocrats had tried to pin Faraday's murder on her, and how Scythe Curry helped her get to him. As she spoke, he put his hands to his eyes as if he might gouge them out. "I think I am complacent here while all this was going to think I was complacent here while all this was going on. How could you not know?" she asked, for in her mind he always seemed to know everything, even the things he could not possibly know. Scythe Faraday sighed. "Marie, Scythe Curry, that is the only member of the Scythedom who knows I'm still alive. I'm completely off grid now. The only way to reach me would be in person, so she sent you. You are both the messenger and the message." The moment became uncomfortable. Thunder rumbled from the sea, much closer now, the flashes of lightning brighter. "Is it true you died 7 deaths for her?" Citra asked. He nodded. "And her for me." "She told you that, did she? Well, it's been a very long time." Outside, the rain finally began to fall, surging in fits and starts. "I love the way it rains here," he told her. "It reminds me of some forces of nature can never be entirely subdued. They are eternal, for it is far better thing to be than immortal." And so they sat listening to the soothing randomness of the rain until Citra began to grow weary to even think. "So what happens now?" she asked. "Very simple, actually. I heal and you rest. Anything beyond that is a conversation for a future date." Then he pointed. "Your bedroom's in there. I expect a full night's sleep from you, followed by a recitation of poisons in the morning in order of toxicity." "My poisons?" In spite of his pain and drug-induced haze, Scythe Faraday smiled. "Yes, your poisons. Are you my apprentice or not?" Citra couldn't help but smile right back at him. "Yes, Your Honor, I am." So this is a journal entry from Scythe Curry. "The longer we live, the quicker the days seem to pass. How troublesome that is when we live forever. A year seems to pass in a matter of weeks. Decades fly with no milestones to mark them. We become settled in the inconsequential drudgery of our lives until suddenly we look at ourselves in the mirror and see a face we barely recognize, begging us to turn a corner and be young again. But are we truly ever young when we turn the corner? We hold the same memories, the same habits, and the same unrealized dreams. Our bodies may be spry and limber, but toward what end? No end, never an end. I do believe mortals strive more heartily toward their goal because they knew that time was of the essence. But us, we can put things off far more effectively than those doomed to die, because death has become the exception instead of the rule. The stagnation that I fervently glean on a daily basis seems an epidemic that only grows. There are times I feel I am fighting a losing battle against an old-fashioned apocalypse of the living dead. Chapter 34. The second most painful thing you'll ever have to do. Winter sped relentlessly closer At first, Rowan kept a tally of lives he temporarily ended, but as the days passed, he found he couldn't keep up. A dozen a day, a week to week, month to month, they all blended together. For the 8 months he trained with Scythe Goddard, he had made over 2,000 kills, mostly the same people over and over again. Did those people despise him, he ever wondered, or did they truly see it as just a job? There were times when the training called for them to run or even fight back. Most were inept at it, but some had clearly been trained in combat. There were even sessions where his targets had their own weapons. He had been cut and stabbed and shot, but never so severely he had to be revived. He had grown into an exceptionally skilled killer. You have excelled beyond my wildest expectations, Goddard told him. I suspect you had a spark in you, but you never dreamed it would be such an inferno. And yes, he had come to enjoy it, such as Scythe Goddard said he would. And just like Scythe Volta, he despised himself for it. I'm looking forward to the ordainment, Volta told him one day during the afternoon studies together. Maybe I can split off from Goddard, glean at your own speed in your own way. But Rowan knew Volta would never find the momentum to escape Goddard's gravity. You're assuming that I'll be chosen over Citra, Rowan pointed out. Citra's gone, Volta reminded him. She's been off the grid for months. If she shows her face at Conclave, the Bejeweling Committee won't look too kindly on her for being AWOL all this time. All you have to do is pass the final test, and without question, you'll win. Which is what Rowan was afraid of. The news of Citra's disappearance had trickled down to Rowan unofficially. He didn't know the whole story. She had been accused of something by Xenocrats. There was an emergency meeting of the disciplinary committee, and Scythe Curry showed up on her behalf, clearing her of any wrongdoing. The accusations must have been orchestrated by Goddard because he was furious at the committee's decision to drop the charges, and by the fact that Citra had completely vanished. Not even Scythe Curry seemed to know where she was. The day after that, Goddard took his junior scythes and Rowan on a gleaning rampage, fueled by his fury. He released his rage at the Crowd Harvest Festival, and this time Rowan couldn't save anyone, because Goddard kept him by his side and his weapons caddy. Scythe Kromsky used his flamethrower to set a corn maze ablaze, smoking people out to pick them off one by one. Volta was now in the doghouse, though, because he had lobbied a container of poison gas into the burning maze. Highly effective, but it still kills from Goddard and the others. I did it to be humane, Volta confided in Rowan. Better they die by gas than by fire. Then he added, or by getting blown away just as they thought they were escaping the maze. Perhaps Rowan was wrong about Volta. Maybe he would escape from Goddard, but he certainly wouldn't do it without Rowan. It was one more argument for Rowan to earn the ring. They had all reached their gleaning quota by the end of the awful evening, and Goddard didn't seem to be satisfied by his bloodlust. He raged against the system, if only to his own disciples, calling for a day when Scythe would have no limits on gleaning. Remember, he's crazy. Citra returned to Scythe Curry at Falling Water many weeks before Winter Conclave, when the months of light had just begun. The gifts were being passed between friends and loved ones to celebrate ancient miracles, and no one quite remembered. That's Christmas. Unlike her frantic journey to Amazonia's northern shore, Citra flew home in comfort and with peace of mind. She didn't have to look over her shoulder every 5 minutes because no one was chasing her. As Scythe Curry had promised, Citra had been cleared of any wrongdoing, and while Scythe Mandela sent a heartfelt note of apology for Scythe Curry to give to Citra, Highblade Xenocrats made no such gesture. He will pretend like it never happened, Scythe Curry told her as the two of them drove home from the airport. That's the closest the man will ever come to an apology. But it did happen, Citra said. I had to hurl myself off of a building to escape it. And I had to blow up 2 perfectly good cars, Scythe Curry said wryly. I won't forget what he did. And you shouldn't. You have every right to judge Xenocrats harshly, but not too harshly. I suspect that there are more variables at play than we know. That's what Scythe Faraday said. Scythe Curry smiled at the mention of his name. And how is our good friend Gerald? She asked with a wink. Reports of his death have been greatly exaggerated, said Citra. Mostly he gardens and takes long walks on the beach. The fact that he's still alive was a secret they both planned to keep. Even Scythe Mandela believed that Citra was staying with a relative of Scythe Curry in Amazonia, and he had no reason to suspect it wasn't true. Perhaps I'll join him on the beach in 100 years or so, said Scythe Curry, but for now there's too much to do at the Scythedom, too many crucial battles to fight. Citra could see her gripping the steering wheel tighter as she thought of it. The future of everything we believe as Scythes is at stake, Citra. There's even talk of abolishing the quota, which is why you must earn the ring. I know the Scythe you'll be, and it's exactly what we need. Citra looked away. Without daily gleaning, her training with Scythe Faraday over the past few months has been honoring her mind and body, but more importantly, contemplating the moral and ethical high ground that a traditional Scythe must always take. There was nothing old guard about it. It was simply right. She knew such high ideals were absent from Rowan's training, but it didn't mean he didn't hold on to them in his heart, despite the bloodthirsty mentor. Rowan could be a good scythe as well, Citra offered. Scythe Curry sighed. He can't be trusted anymore. Look what he did to you at Harvest Conclave. You make all the excuses in the world for him, but the fact is he's an unknown quantity. Training under Goddard is bound to twist him in a way that no one can predict. Even if that's true, said Citra, finally getting to the point they both knew she'd be dancing around, I don't know how I could glean him. It would be the second most painful thing you'll ever do, admitted Scythe Curry, but you'll find a way to accomplish it, Citra. I have faith in you. If gleaning Rowan would be the second most painful thing she'd ever do, Citra wondered what the most painful thing she would do would be. She was afraid to ask because she really didn't want to know. This is a journal entry from Scythe Goddard. So many of our archaic traditions and rules need to be challenged. The founders, as well-meaning as they were, still suffered from a mortal mentality, having been so close to the age of mortality. They could not foresee the needs of the Scythedom. I would first take on the concept of the quota. It's absurd that we are free to determine our methods and criteria for gleaning, but not the numbers of gleaning we accomplish. We are humstrung every minute of every day because we must always consider whether we are gleaning too much or too little. Better to allow us to glean at our own complete discretion. That way, scythes who glean too little will not be punished, because scythes who have a heavier gleaning appetite will make up for their shortcomings. In this way, we can help one another, and isn't helping a fellow scythe a good thing for all of us? So Goddard is trying to twist around, like, well, some scythes don't want to kill as much, so let me kill a bunch, and then only have to kill a few. And he's just crazy. So those were two chapters, chapter 33 and 34 of Scythe. We will read chapter 35 on Wednesday. Have a good day.